Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics on my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @DougPless. Just want to let everyone know the Bookmap is encouraging everyone to join Bookmap Discord. There are a number of benefits, and you will need a subscription to Bookmap to join and fully participate in chat as well as to watch the streams in Bookmap Discord. There is a free subscription available. Once you subscribe, you will need to verify your account. It takes a little bit of extra effort on your part, but then you can fully participate in Bookmap Discord chat and all the streams in Bookmap Discord. All right, I have a number of announcements. And by the way, Bruce is here to answer any questions or maybe add any information about these promotions. So first of all, the Cyber Monday sale is going on through the 12th. So that is tomorrow. And that is 60% for 1 month of Global Plus, I believe. And again, that this slide says in 2 days. Actually ends tomorrow. Also now there is a promotion for the MBO bundle, 50% off. And then finally, Pro Trader webinars focusing on MBO that began a couple of days ago and continues through tomorrow. And note that is on Discord only, so one of the benefits of joining Bookmap Discord. All right, so again, Bruce is on hand to answer any questions you may have. All right, here are the key tenets to my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, certainly the large cap tech stocks. Like the Magnificent Seven stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of that index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index. QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index. And the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning. I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the asset, as well as the way you like to trade. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Jug chat channel as well as the chat in YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. Hello, Dan P. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, here's my agenda for today, Wednesday, December 11th. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, and events for today as well as the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. Then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know, and I'll be glad to do that. And just want to let everyone know the theme for today is calls and call walls. And you'll see why in just a couple of minutes. All right, let's take a quick look at economic data for today. CPI data came out 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Looks like it was mostly in line with expectations, a little bit greater than the previous number, but the market definitely liked it. So PPI data comes out tomorrow. And again, market was pretty happy with CPI data today. All right, let's move on now to positional analysis. I'm going to start with the S&P 500. This is the ES Futures and Bookmap. And you can see the reaction to the CPI data at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And forgot to change the color back. Of my pointer tool. Okay, so this is the reaction to the CPI data, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and note the move higher above the 60-45 volatility trigger. That's key for today. S&P 500 trading now well above the volatility trigger. All right, let's take a quick look at a higher time frame. I'm going to go to the SPX, the underlying index. Start with a 1-year, 1-day chart. This is SPX again. Rally continues, making a series of new highs. So that is a 1-day chart for 1 year worth of data. Now let's take a step closer in time frame. Let's go to a 30-day, 1-hour chart. Again, sticking with the underlying index. This is SPX. Let me point out a couple of key points here. First of all, this is the post-election rally. Pull back to 58.50. Then a rally up to the 6100 call wall. That level acted as resistance. SPX pulled back and then gapped up today and is heading straight for the call wall again. So that is definitely the next level in sight. Looks like it may be stalled a little bit at some positive gamma at 60.90. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. All right, let's take a look at the levels on this chart. Excuse me. First, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. That's based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. So far, SPX trading right in the middle of that range, the weekly expected move. The dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from yesterday. Note I do post those levels in Discord every day the evening before. So SPX gapped up and is trading well above the upper daily expected move. I did post in Discord yesterday for the low of the day for both ES and NQ. The ES and NQ lower daily expected moves were exactly the low for the day. Pretty interesting. So those levels don't matter every day, but they certainly did yesterday. Lower daily expected moves, stopping price for both ES and NQ yesterday. All right, let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels on this chart. I'm going to zoom in just a bit. Focus on the key daily levels. First of all, the put wall is at 59.75. That's a strike with largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. That level did move down from yesterday. Next level up is the absolute gamma strike just above that. It's 6,000. That is the strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. That's where most of the gamma-weighted open interest is concentrated. And above that is the volatility trigger at 60.45. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And of course, the last few days, SPX has been moving lower. Gamma notional has been decreasing, but with the gap up today, SPX trading well above the volatility trigger and positive gamma. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. So again, SPX trading well above that volatility trigger and positive gamma. And we'll take a closer look at gamma in just a minute. And again, there's a very high positive gamma node right at 60.90. That seems to be where SPX has stalled today, so far for the day. More about that in just a minute. And then finally, the call wall is up at 6,100, the level that acted as resistance last Friday with the move up. That's a strike with largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. Call wall has been at 6,100 for quite some time. And let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1 minute chart. Then we'll get back to Bookmap. SPX 1 minute chart. There's the volatility trigger at 6,045. Again, SPX gapped up. It was trading down below that level yesterday and trading up above today, and also above the upper daily expected move. All right, back to Bookmap. All right, Bookmap key levels. Again, there's that 60.45 SPX volatility trigger and ES SPX trading well above that level. And we'll see in a minute that that 69 level high positive gamma seems to be slowing the S&P 500 down.
Hey, Doug, how are you?
All right, how about you, Bruce?
I'm well. Thanks for allowing me to come into your stream. I didn't want to interrupt you. It was really concise and methodical there as you went through your analysis. Now that you're in Bookmap, I guess you're probably going to cover it next. Now, what are you kind of thinking at this point now, after all that analysis?
Well, I'm going to finish up my positional analysis, move on to NASDAQ, take a quick look at NASDAQ, and then I'll go over Gamma, and we'll take a look at how Gamma is setting up. That's very important to look at Gamma to what we can expect for volatility and price movement. Then I'll get to the live market, and I'll talk about setups.
Okay. Sounds good.
And what I've been, again, in my introduction, I mentioned the theme of the day is calls and call walls, and you'll see why in just a minute. It's definitely
Okay.
call buyers driving price higher today.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so that's the plan. So this is the S&P 500. Let's take a quick look at NASDAQ. This is the NQ futures and Bookmap. And NQ trading well above its upper daily expected move. Shown down here with light blue. Again, yesterday, the lower daily expected move was definitely support for the day. I know there are a lot of levels on this chart. And to make it a little bit easier to look at, let's take a quick look at the underlying index charts. First of all, let's go to QQQ. QQQ trading well above its volatility trigger at 519. And some key levels also trading above its call wall. Yesterday, the call wall was at 530, today 525. Price moved above that level at the open, back up at 530 now. And there's a combo level just above 530. And that looks like where QQQ is trading now. So let's zoom in. All right, by the way, for the S&P 500, again, the put wall for SPX moved lower, and for SPY, the volatility trigger and absolute gamma strike both shifted lower, so slightly bearish, shifts lower for the S&P 500. And let's now take a look at NDX. So for QQQ, the volatility trigger and call wall shifted lower again. Put wall shifted higher. And for NDX, the volatility trigger shifted lower. So let's take a quick look at NDX. And NDX is trading basically above all levels right now. So that is this final combo level here is the highest Spotgamma level. So NDX trading above the volatility trigger, call wall, put wall, absolute gamma strike, and this is again the highest gamma level on the board. All right, back to NQ. So you can see that cluster of levels there, including that the QQQ 530 combo 2 level, and then that combo 1 level for NDX, just down below that. And again, we'll talk about setups in a few minutes. Let's wrap up our positional analysis by taking a look at gamma. Then we'll get to some setups. All right, so this is gamma notional at the beginning of the day. Market maker's position on the gamma curve for the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000. These numbers mostly shifted lower, with the exception of IWM and NDX, which both stayed about the same. But more significantly for the S&P 500, gamma notional did continue the move lower from yesterday, down just very slightly positive, and then negative for QQQ, but all fairly neutral. So indicating the expectation for more volatility for today, as that positive gamma has now been dropping down to more neutral. All right, let's take a current look at gamma right now. So this is the trace gamma heat map. This is this strong positive gamma at 6090 that I mentioned. That's what that blue bar is showing, gamma exposure. Looks like it's acting as resistance. You can also see the bright blue here. Very strong positive gamma. slowing price down. And earlier today, the stability index was a little bit lower, just right around 49%. So that's what it's been the last couple of days. With a stability index down around 50%, I'm definitely looking for more volatility for the day. All right, so that's a current view of Gamma. All right, so based on this, again, I was looking for more volatility for the day. Directional bias really depended on the reaction to the CPI data. All right, let's move on to execution now. Taking a look at real-time data. All right, so as always, I'm going to start with the S&P 500. I'm going to jump right into it. If anyone does not know what this chart is, please let me know. This is the Hero chart. This is Spotgamma Hero. It's available to Spotgamma subscribers. It shows options trades and market maker hedging activity in real time. For the S&P 500, there are two signals that we can take a look at. This is the S&P 500 index signal. I've already separated out puts and calls. The orange line shows calls. The blue line shows puts. A rising orange line indicates traders are buying calls. So in this case, in the index, when traders buy these index component calls, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. So they're buying ES futures. All right, so notice this line rising in the morning and really starts to flatten out just before noon. Also, they are buying puts today. That's shown by the following blue line. So does anybody have any questions about this, what this chart is showing? Calls in orange, direction of the lines in terms of options delta. All right, here's what's driving price today. Let's get right to the chase. SP equities. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like this. Orange line shows that traders are buying calls in the S&P 500 index, equities. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. So the white line is price for SPX again, and the orange line is calls for S&P 500 stocks. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. So we know that traders are buying calls, especially in the S&P equities, S&P 500 equities. Just a steady mechanical uptrend. A little bit more choppy signal in the index signal, but still moving higher. All right, back to equities. While that's refreshing, let's go to Bookmap. And you can see that what's driving price here in Bookmap, order flow, volume dots in Bookmap show market buy minus sell. You can see all the aggressive buyers coming in. Let's zoom in just a little bit. Volume dots in Bookmap show market buy minus sell. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. Magenta dots more sellers than buyers. So you can see all the aggressive buyers coming in actually before 8:30. Few sellers after the CPI data, but again, price breaks above the 60-45 volatility trigger. That is SPX, 6,045 volatility trigger. And note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX today. And that point difference, that offset is 9 points. So the ES breaks above the 6,045 volatility trigger. a lot of aggressive buyers, very large green volume dots, all the way up to this combo level, 607 combo level. Note the heat map is showing some sellers now starting to come in. Those are limit sell orders in the order book, slowing price down. Interesting, large traders were fading this move with iceberg orders. That's shown by the falling light blue line. Cumulative volume delta shown by the dark blue line. And that's confirmed, of course, by all the green volume dots. And note right around 10 o'clock, that starts to level off as some sellers start to come in. Then also the yellow line on the subchart is showing stop orders. Those are buy stop orders, helping to fuel that move higher. And note they also level off right around 10 a.m., 10:15. In the subchart here, I also have the Market Pulse price change indicator. And in an uptrend, I look at these extremes, price change extremes, to help identify pullbacks for long entry. The bright red there. All right, so that's the S&P 500. Again, remember there is a point difference of 9 points, the offset, 9 points between SPX and ES. ES minus SPX equal 9. All right, so again, it looks like ES may be stalling out, finding some resistance at that large positive gamma at 6,090, SPX 6,090. But a great rally so far today. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. Again, very bullish reaction to CPI data. Aggressive buyers, green volume dots. Same as the S&P 500, large traders initially fading that move higher, selling NQ contracts with iceberg orders they use to hide their size. Then starting around 10:30, or actually right around 10, they join the party. This doesn't happen too often, but the light blue line for iceberg orders, the dark blue line, cumulative volume delta, and the yellow line for stop orders, all moving higher. That's very bullish. Very bullish signal here with the icebergs, stops, and cumulative volume delta. And by the way, the stops and icebergs are included with the MBO bundle that I mentioned earlier in the introduction. All right, so NASDAQ also stalled, starting to lose steam. All right, let's take a look at Hero, see what options traders are doing in NASDAQ today. Let's go to the NASDAQ index signal. Traders buying calls. This is for NDX and QQQ. Traders buying NDX and QQQ calls. Market makers sell the calls. They have to buy NQ futures to hedge their delta exposure. Let's go to the MAG 7. So that's equivalent to the S&P 500 index signal. Now let's go to the MAG 7. Just like the S&P 500 equity signal, which is actually the MAG 7 plus 493. Traders buy calls. From the open, they continue to buy calls in the MAG 7 stocks. We'll take a look at some of those stocks in just a minute. So very similar picture in the index signal for NASDAQ and the MAG 7. Back to Bookmap. Very bullish here in the subchart. Again, iceberg stops, cumulative volume delta, all rising, helping to fuel that move higher. All right, let's take a look at some stocks. Anybody have any questions about the S&P 500 or NASDAQ? Bruce,
Yeah,
any thoughts,
I had
comments?
some. Yeah, yeah, I had a question, Doug. So, I mean, it's pretty clear, like you had mentioned there, pretty bullish to see the direction of icebergs and stops, along with volume, cumulative volume delta, go in the same direction. But if you go back to the S&P or the ES,
Yeah.
and how do you usually decipher that information? Because the icebergs are clearly going. Well, they still kind of dribble down, but they're still going down basically. And uh, is this something that you kind of do you find that maybe your 606 level there, or I'm not sure which options levels, but like it seems that they kind of stopped or kind of curtailed their iceberg selling right around that 606 or level there that you have on the left hand side,
Yeah,
your
right
yellow
around
dotted line.
right around 10 a.m. So what I'm looking for is what is driving price today? What or who? So I think it's pretty clear to me that large traders with iceberg orders are not driving price. They're a factor. Maybe if they were going like the NASDAQ in the direction of price, maybe the rally would be more powerful. But here it's pretty clear to me that iceberg orders, large traders with iceberg orders, should not turn that off there. I just want to make this a little bit more clear. We're not necessarily a factor today. I think the key driver of price, like I showed with Hero, was traders buying calls in both the index and the S&P 500 equities. And of course, the Mag 7 being a big part of that, as well as the NASDAQ, all helping to drive price higher. So again, what I'm looking for, what is driving price today? And I think it's options trades as well as aggressive buyers and stop orders.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering if kind of similar, if you kind of note like a large iceberg, selling, and kind of outline maybe an area there, like between 6077 and then 6067. So, somewhere around a 10 point S&P move there.
Uh-huh. Well, you want to see the on-chart indicator?
No, no, I'm just wondering if, if you can, if basically if you kind of draw a rectangle around there, in that price action, uh, do you look at that like, or kind of note that area due to the large iceberg selling?
Well,
I
I
mean,
think
it's like 10,000 icebergs in there.
let me turn on the on-chart indicator so we can get a better view of that. It'll take a minute for that to load. So what maybe one takeaway from this, and that may obscure things a little bit. Let me zoom in just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess you can go down to the 6050 level on up to about the yeah, I guess maybe that 606 was a little too high, but I don't know. It's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah.
All right. So one thing that I can take away is after this initial move higher, where icebergs were selling, large traders selling with iceberg orders, and that's shown by the on-chart indicator here. Note how after this initial move, this is after 8:30, so this is before the cash open. Large traders fading that with iceberg orders. That starts to slow price down. So they're still selling with iceberg orders. So this rally is starting to slow down as large traders continue to sell with iceberg orders. Here's the cash open, 9:30. And looks like the iceberg order selling is over by about 9:45. Note how price accelerates after that. So we know at 9:30, that's when the options market opens for the equities. Traders buying calls hand over fist. Cumulative volume delta starting to come in again, large. So I think this, cumulative volume delta, large green volume dots, price starts to accelerate higher, and the iceberg sellers took their foot off the gas right around 9:45. So the takeaway I have here is the large traders with iceberg orders were slowing that move down before the cash open. Then after the cash open, the call buyers, I think, overwhelmed price.
Yeah, I mean, so there's something that I've noted, over the years using the stops and icebergs, that a lot of times that it doesn't make much sense. You're like, wow, okay, I'm looking for the reversal. I'm looking due to all these icebergs. And there's a lot. I mean, there's like, 10,000 is pretty good amount. And a lot of times I note that kind of zone or area. And I guess it would be probably around, 650 or 6050 on up to somewhere around 6077. And then I look for I let that day kind of go by, but I'm looking the next day at that kind of zone or area, and I'm wondering if there might be a lot of sellers once it starts to get down into that area and drive it below that area in sequential days.
I'll take a note of that and see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, I've just a lot of times you see the iceberg orders, or at least I've seen the iceberg orders like this massive, like somewhere around 30,000 icebergs, and then you're just like, wow, it's still, price is still moving in the same direction. But once another day comes, and then like you might see a move for several days in that direction of where the icebergs are trading. So if price gets below that area, then I was curious if you had noted that and if you use the icebergs that way.
I have not thought about that recently, but that is a good point. That to watch and see if price gets back down toward that level if the sellers come in again.
Yeah, or are there? I mean, the question to you would really be, will or do those iceberg transactions relate somehow to a key level from the options? So maybe there's a confluence there. I don't know.
All right, so you were talking about 6,050 to 6,077.
Yeah.
In terms of ES.
Yeah.
All right, so.
And is there anything in there for the like your maybe your teal line there? It is.
So we would look a few points lower for SPX. So we can take a look in the trace heat map in just a minute to see if there's anything at
that's
that
a good
level.
idea. Yeah.
But that does change every day.
Okay.
And the primary levels, that one thing could be a factor. This 6,055 level, that is the J.P. Morgan short call in the J.P. Morgan collar. So that was a key level right there,
Okay.
6,055. So that could be a factor. And so in fact, you can see his price moved up to that level, the 6,055.
That's really where it starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a key level. It may not be apparent today, but that is, again, the short call of the JP Morgan collar that expires December 31st.
Okay. All right. Time will tell.
And Sloterazi says Bruce Maines maybe upper daily expected move, maybe icebergs come in there. I think it's more with this 6,055 level, Sloterazi. I think that's when the icebergs start selling. Call walls have not been reached yet. Call wall, SPX call wall is up at 6,100, and the SPY call wall is up at 610. So those levels are still above. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at, let's go to Trace, go to the Trace heat map for Gamma. So there's that 6,055 level. What's dominating today is the 6,090 level. And
Interesting.
it appears to be acting as resistance, that large positive gamma. So we can draw a line at that level. But that's a good point, Bruce. I think that iceberg selling did come in at that 6,055 level. Again, that's this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't know
Right
what that options level was, and I didn't mean to throw you off your presentation, but perhaps it was kind of key, and maybe it's just happen chance here, but there might be something to it.
no, that's a
Uh,
good observation. I think there's definitely a valid point there that that's when the iceberg started selling,
yeah, yeah,
and they were clearly wrong.
yeah,
So they took the foot off the gas.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Again, I
Exactly.
think it's overwhelmed by the call buyers that came in at the cash open. So I did want to take a look at some stocks today. So I mentioned the Mag 7 hero signal, and we can take a look at some of those Mag 7 stocks. Here's Apple. So like I mentioned in the introduction, my theme for today is calls and call walls. Let's go back to hero. Take a look at Apple. Apple note 250 is the call wall. Aggressive call buyers in the morning shown by the rising orange line. Price did breach the call wall and is now trading lower. Call buyers take the foot off the gas. And note the peak here. This is often a very good bearish reversal pattern. That call peak right around 1110. Then Apple moved back down below its call wall just a few minutes after that call peak. All right, so that's Apple. Let's go to Bookmap again. 250 call wall. Price does trade above that level. Note all the high liquidity at that level. Those are limit sell orders in the order book. There were some in before the cash open. A lot more come in after the cash open. Looks like those orders were consumed. In this case, they did not come back in, and price now is broken lower below the call wall as the call buyers took their foot off the gas. Again, remember that call peak reversal pattern. All right, next stock, Amazon. For Amazon, 230 is the call wall. And Amazon's stuck on that level right now. Again, note the high liquidity at that level. Looks like that was consumed. And also up at 231. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go to Amazon. Call buyers, shown by the rising orange line. Flow alert comes in right after the open, gets your attention. Significant options activity. Price jumps right up to the call wall. And after reaching that level, the call buyers take the foot off the gas. And now price consolidating up and down around that level.
But Doug, I mean, did they really take their, I mean, they took their foot off the, it was the pedal to the metal there, but they're still pushing on the gas.
Yeah, well, they're not selling, I think, which
Yeah.
is good. So, if you look at the level, look at the level right here.
Interesting. Yeah.
That delta notional has pretty much not changed since right around 10:15. It's moved up a little bit. This is a large block order, institutional order. Move that back down. So a large institution was selling calls. And this line right here, again, the call wall. Let's go back to Bookmap. And now Amazon just hugging that call wall after that quick move up to the call wall and above to 231. All right, next stock, Google. And for Google, 190 is the call wall. Price broke above that level earlier in the day. This is very bullish price action for Google. Often Google is a very slow mover. Has not been the case recently. Call wall breach. In a call wall breach, that's where most of the calls are concentrated. So traders are long calls, market makers short the calls. As price breaks above that level, market makers short calls go further, they go deeper in the money. Their delta is becoming more negative, so they have to continue to buy calls to hedge their delta exposure. And Google moves on up to the high liquidity price liquidity target at 195. Very unusual price action for Google. Usually Google moves maybe 2 or 3 points a day. Let's see what options traders are doing. Go to Google. Call buyers. Flow alert comes in just after the cash open. 2 flow alerts, signaling significant option activity. Call wall breach. There was some consolidation around that level for a few minutes. So they're continuing to buy calls, but just slowing down a little bit. And now finally they've taken the foot off the gas. They're not selling, but not buying calls. So that fuel that moved Google higher earlier today is now gone. There's the 195 level. Back to Bookmap. Looks like I needed to move my price lines up. So high liquidity at that level. Looks like it was consumed. Sellers did not come back in, and now price moving slightly lower. Very bullish day for Google. Let's take a look at Meta.
A question on that, Google,
Yeah,
and on a lot of these here, because they're so bullish. But after the big spike, well, we've seen it in multiple examples here, the big spike in the call buying, fueling the big price movement, and then it tapers off, and maybe the calls just kind of flatline, but price still just continues to kind of go up. It seems. Do you find that? And then, like, I mean, for the day, that's kind of the day in the price action. It kind of just keeps on, just kind of going higher and higher and but flattening out.
this is very, very, very typical price action for in options trades. Usually, the aggressive call buyers will come in at the cash open, and they will take the foot off the gas sometime mid-morning. Yeah, that could be
Mm,
anywhere from 10 to 12. They'll take the foot off the gas, and they'll either start selling calls. Where do we see that call peak pattern? You'll see a call peak. It could be a reversal signal. Note that was right around somewhere between 11 and 11:15. Again, very, very typical. Or actually, if you look at this, starts to slow down, makes a final peak, then
mm,
flattens off. So that fuel that has been driving price, uh, starting to helping to fuel the move higher, is gone. Also note now, looking at the put line, traders start buying puts.
mm.
Large institutional order there. Some large institution buying puts, and then the blue line continues lower. So now the put buyers have taken over here for Apple. So again, all of these are very typical patterns, very aggressive call buying in the morning. Then they take the foot off the gas.
Mm.
Mid-morning, anywhere from 10 to 12. Price consolidates or moves lower, or maybe grinds higher. So very typical
Okay.
pattern that
Yeah.
repeats day after day. Here's Meta, call buyers, another call wall breach. There was a flow alert there, covered up by the 620 call wall key gamma strike label. Call buyers. Here they took the foot off the gas right around 1020 or so. Actually, Meta already had started to move lower. And now the call line is flat. Put line is flat. So that fuel that had been moving price higher is gone again. Let's go to Bookmap.
Do you find, Doug, that, I mean, today's, like, pretty big up day after some down days, uh, and we had data, but like, or it was interpreted very bullishly at least. I'm just wondering if, because it's above the call wall, that you see this kind of extraordinary call buying.
Well, that does help to fuel the move higher. That is can often happen in volatile stocks like Meta, stocks that really move. So again, when the stock breaches a call wall, Spotgamma assumes for stocks that traders are long calls, market makers are short calls. Those short calls go deeper in the money. Their delta is becoming more negative, and they have to continue to, market makers have to continue to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure.
Yeah, fueling it
With,
even higher.
yeah, with that call wall breach. So that is a factor. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So Meta, very typical. This typical price action for Meta. Strong move higher at the open, and it's done by maybe 10:05, 10:20, 10:10, something like that. Sharp move higher. Cumulative volume delta. You can see all the green volume dots. Opening print, then the aggressive buyers come in, call buyers, price jumps higher, up through the, again, above the call wall, 635 liquidity. Call buyers take the foot off the gas, now price consolidating.
What about end of the day, Doug? And I'm sorry if you want me to hold my questions.
No,
Uh,
this is fine, no problem.
okay. End of the day, though, like I mean, we're seeing clearly, like for the day, opening drives, and then it just kind of dries up, and then the price action kind of dries up too.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
I'm-
yeah. If you have to be ready at the open if to get in on these stock moves.
yeah,
Typically open over in the first anywhere from the first 30 minutes to the first 90 minutes. You know,
yeah,
after that, if you come in after that, you missed it for stocks.
yeah. And then what about in the close though? What kind of do you see, like, I mean, obviously there's heavy, buying and selling also.
So in the close, I'm going to look at the indexes, primarily the
Okay.
S&P 500. Let's take a quick look at Microsoft, and then we'll get back to the S&P 500. Sound all right?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. So Microsoft. Let's see what options traders are doing. Thank you for posting DNT Manor. Let's go back. Microsoft. So in this case, finding resistance at the 450 call wall. Again, call buyers coming in, not quite as aggressive as Meta. Full alert. And then there's the touch of the 450 call wall. Note how call buyers abruptly take their foot off the gas. Looks like a series of large block orders, institutional orders, buying calls. Very typical of Microsoft. All right, so again, Bruce, this is a pattern that happens on bullish days, day after day. And so I just looked at all these Mag 7 stocks. Let's go back to the index now. Go back to the equity signal. Check the index signal. All right, so you can see the index signal has really flattened out. I'm going to go to the total. I'm going to have to jump. All right, sorry about this. Spotgamma's had some technical issues after introducing a new feature yesterday. So the equity signal appears to have flattened out a little bit. Index signal choppy, but did move down earlier. Let's take a look at trace. Let's go to the delta pressure. So what this chart is showing, this is like a heat map in Bookmap, except this is a heat map for options trades. So this is delta pressure showing red selling pressure above, blue buying support below. So you can see now let's say right around 1:30, something like that, maybe even 1 o'clock, that SPX, this is for SPX, entered that, started to enter that red selling pressure. really associated with the 60-90 level of high positive gamma. Definitely slowing SPX down. And note, this would have been a very good location for a 0 DTE butterfly today at 60-90, as it was apparent pretty much from the open that that was a large gamma strike, and the SP 500 was moving higher. Let's take a look at charm pressure and see if this charm pressure confirms that will be the potential end of day, and it certainly does. So charm pressure is showing potential pinning level right at 60-90. It all lines up. High positive gamma at 60-90. Note all these contour lines are all pointing to 60-90. Sorry, I'm using red. You might not be able to see that. All contour lines, that vortex leading right to 60-90 pinning level for the end of the day. So again, would have been a great location for a 0 DTE butterfly early in the day, if you identified that level earlier in the day.
Do you trade those, Doug?
What's that?
When you see something like that, and maybe the call starting to kind of slow down the call buying, then you start to look for maybe some selling some premium, like in butterflies or condors or iron condors.
Well, I would. You're not going to get much for an iron condor today, and in fact, a butterfly. If you put a butterfly at 60-90 earlier today, that would have been a good trade. I was a little bit late. Had to run an errand this morning and then make lunch. Let's just check.
Or do you hold it overnight, or not go with a 0 DTE, but go with the next day?
I would trade 0 DTE, so that's where I have the most. I think that's where I have the most edge. So I've posted several of these in Discord. Let's see, there was one that I posted. Last one that I posted was on 2 days ago, on Monday, a 0 DTE butterfly.
Okay.
That cost $55 and closed for a $290 credit for a gain of about $235. So multiple price gain on one of these 0 DTE butterflies. And again, I did post that in the Options Doug chat channel in Discord a couple of days ago. And I did talk about it on my webinar on Monday.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it the other day.
So this one,
On the
I got
9th.
in a little bit too late and paid way too much for it. It should be no more than half that price, $1.30. So one way to play it. Another way is to, just look at Bookmap and find a point to get in and a long entry with either options or futures contracts, and hold it till you get to that 60-90 level. So that would be your profit target, the clear profit target at 6,090.
So you'd go with directional options at that point, just buy calls, or hop on the wagon there.
Yeah, definitely. That's the way I like to play it recently for a big directional move with this lower stability index and approaching negative gamma. There's a lot more price movement that may change tomorrow up at these levels. Gamma notional will certainly increase, but yesterday the trade was to buy puts, and I like to buy futures puts. So I don't have to be as precise with my entry as I do with futures contracts. That, if you buy a put, that's defined risk, and just let it work. And I did
Yeah.
post that setup in Discord and in X yesterday evening. I was kind of late, had a lot to do, but I did post that in Discord and in X, that short setup. This was actually the last half of the day, and I got in earlier. But yeah,
Wow.
definitely buy a put. Yesterday I could see that Hero was starting to move lower, and then price did follow, and that the play for me was just to buy futures puts.
Yeah. 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 Interesting stuff. I mean, the great work, Doug.
Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah, really like it. So anyway, I've got to jump. In fact, we've got another webinar to go over kind of stops and icebergs, answer questions for you guys. If anyone, after Doug is finished here, you want to jump over to that, take a look in Discord. You'll see it as with the live button there, or also on YouTube. But yeah, I've got to jump, Doug, and yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. I really appreciate your questions. Really helped. So I'll wrap it up today so everyone can get to Bruce's webinar. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. And I will see you on Monday. Thanks again. Bye.